Fernando Torres was a massive flop. One of the floppiest, is a floppy disk. Like compared to Nicholas Jackson, because context actually matters. And thank God we have somebody who is a historian of the game here. Oh, somebody who has extensive knowledge about the game of football here. You understand? In me. So let's go to the history.
Chelsea players, two players who many think are flops for the London Blues. Nicholas Jackson and Fernando Torres. Who is the greater flop for the Blues? On today's edition of the show, we get to discuss this very topic and how it pertains to the club, Chelsea. I am Judechi Chideze, and this is Crossfire, brought to you by Bet Bonanza. All right, so let's get into it. Two Chelsea players I would say you love very much. It's your business if you don't agree with that. But who would you say is the bigger flop for Chelsea?
First of all, I want to use this medium to address something. I personally, I don't think that Fernando Torres was a flop for Chelsea. In hindsight, and I said that as a Chelsea fan, at the time he underperformed his expectations for British record signing 50 million and all that. But 50 million is today's money. That cannot even sign you a decent midfielder nowadays. So with the level of generational flopping that has happened after him. If you call Fernando Torres a flop, what will you now call Lukaku? Chelsea signed Lukaku the first time, and we're like, even after he flopped the first time, they're like, nah, we have to sign him again. And then what did he do? You guessed right. He reflopped. He doubled back on the flopping. So when if compared to Torres scored 45 goals for Chelsea, about 34 assists in 172 games. Torres scored one of the most iconic goals in football history. Torres was an essential part of Chelsea's first ever Champions League title. So when I now think of all of that, it's now Nicholas Jackson that I don't get it. I honestly do not get it. I don't get it at all. Nicholas Jackson has not even Nicholas Jackson is less than flop. I don't think he has even earned the title of flop. He has not qualified. He's so bad that flops are looking at him like, Yusuf, try play ball now. Batia Kesma is looking at Nicholas Jackson and saying, at least I even score goals. Yusuf, try now. Shevchenko is looking at Nicholas Jackson and saying, Yusuf, give them something. Give them something to work with. Nicholas Jackson is less than a flop. Nicholas Jackson is barely a football player. Look, when you talk about these things, so I'm not saying Fernando Torres had the best time at Chelsea, but please, not Jackson. Not Jackson.
Firstly, let me ask you, Tunde do not think Fernando Torres was a flop at Chelsea. Many people do think so. Are you of that school of thought?
Fernando Torres was a massive flop. One of the floppiest, is a floppy disk. Compared to Nicholas Jackson, because context actually matters. And thank God we have somebody who is a historian of the game here. Somebody who has extensive knowledge about the game of football here. You understand? In me. So let's go to the history. Let's open the history books. When Chelsea decided to sign Fernando Torres, who was Fernando Torres? Fernando Torres, at the time when he was signed, was considered the best striker in the world. Take it or leave it. In fact, just that year, a preceding year before that, he finished third in the FIFA Men's Player of the Year. He was ranked third. He was ranked behind Ronaldo and Messi. That was how big he was, Fernando Torres. Got to Chelsea and said, I will redefine the meaning of flop. Took flop to a new dimension. And I keep telling people, when you look at Nicholas Jackson, let us put it in context. Fernando Torres is how old now? I think he's 40 years old now. So if we go back when he was signed, 2011, he'll be around in his early 30s, which was still in the prime of his career. How old is Nicholas Jackson? Nicholas Jackson is a baby. He's 21 years old. He's a kid. There's room for improvement. This was a player at the peak of his power that was in the bed. There's a toilet. He said, no, I want to on the floor. That was Fernando Torres. And people keep talking about, his history is very important. Don't let us have revisionist history. I remember, some of us are old enough. They didn't tell us we were there. When we watched Barcelona, he said he scored one of the biggest goals in what are you talking about? The biggest goal was the goal that Ramirez scored. If Fernando Torres scored the ball, if he did not score the ball, Chelsea were going to the Champions League. If he just decided to score, if he scored the ball, if he did not score the ball, Chelsea were going to the Champions League final. I remember the game well because obviously during those days, for those who are not familiar, these are for the kids. During those times, there was what they called the away goal rule. So Chelsea already beat Barcelona 1-0 and they came to the Camp Nou 2-1. So those are the things, historical context. Some say he scored one of the goal was a meaningless goal. It was a nonsense. He didn't mean anything. He just put icing on the cake, and it was not even icing. It was just like putting agbalumo where you put pear. It's literally, it didn't mean anything. So when you look at it historically and you look at it contextually, Fernando Torres is the floppiest of the floppiest players ever in the history of football.
Those in points noted. I'm sure Torres gets your point. But let me ask you, I mean, we are looking at a player who is currently playing for Chelsea and there's still a lot of time ahead of him. Do you think, Tunde, that Nicholas Jackson could perhaps surpass whatever legacy Torres have at Chelsea?
Ideally, he can. He's still just 21 years old, as Tosin reminded us, and he has like a 5 to 6 year contract. But me, I foresee it as 6 years of more nonsense. If you are a Chelsea fan, hoping that this guy will suddenly know how to score goals tomorrow morning. Ask yourself why Gabriel Jesus are still not. Gabriel Jesus is like 28 years old. This is when Gabriel Jesus was 21. They were saying he can dribble. All he needs to know is learn how to finish. Till tomorrow, I'm still waiting. Till Jesus will come. Nicolas Jackson, you have seen the final product. When you sign a 21-year-old Senegalese striker, you should know in your back of your mind that he's probably really 30 years old. First of all, he has developed several years ago. Like this is, you are looking at the finished product. So move on, catch in your chips. If anybody is dumb enough to sign him for the 35 million Chelsea paid for him, collect the money and run. That's my advice to Chelsea. Don't put your hopes on Nicolas. I don't know why I need to even tell you that because everybody has been watching it. If you watch this guy, you know that there's nothing here. There's nothing here to work with, and I'm not holding my breath.
Tosin, Tunde says we have seen the worst years of Nicholas Jackson and more to come. Do you agree with that?
Tunde does not see beyond what he can understand. It's just a matter of perspective. You understand? When you look at Nicholas Jackson, there is a reason why they gave him an 8-year contract. They didn't give him a 2-year. They gave him an 8. This is a project. When you sign someone like Nicholas Jackson, it's a project. When you sign someone like Fernando Torres, who was 29 when they signed him, you are expecting delivery immediately. You see the difference? Those are the things I try to teach you on this show. Try to gain from my knowledge. You understand? My wisdom and my experience over a decade. You understand? As a journalist, whichever the case is. Now, Nicholas Jackson. We cannot forget the trials and tribulations he has to go through coming up as an African from Senegal, going to Spain. And I've told you time and time again the importance and the effect of the mythical forces and the metaphysical forces in football. Nicholas Jackson has to battle the ancestry and the spiritual elements that come, you understand, with making it in his family. These are things that we know the trials that African players, when they you understand, you elevate a certain status, we know the people that will carry calabash, we know the people that will turn in the night, they will turn to bed. We know all these things. You understand? The effect of juju in football is very real. What is Ferran Torres' excuse? He was born in Madrid. He doesn't have to deal with, obviously, there are several types of, you understand, metaphysical. He didn't have to deal with that. What was his own excuse? Scoring average 1 goal every 7 games as a Chelsea player. Most of his goals came in the Carabao Cup, Europa League, FA Cup. Is that what they signed him for? Now you look at Nicholas Jackson, his first season, 10 goals in 29 games. That's literally about 1 goal in every 3 games. Can he do better? What he needs is composure. He's never ever going to be a prolific finisher like someone like, let's say for instance, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Someone that is, or a Frimpong Inzaghi, somebody that they know how to put the ball in the back of the net. He's never going to be that guy. But if he can develop his composure on the ball, he can actually, his goal ratio can actually improve. You understand? Then maybe gets to a 1 goal in 2 games. Fernando Torres was 1 goal in 6.5, 1 goal in 7 games at Chelsea. So the difference is clear. Nicholas Jackson is a project for the future, an 8-year contract. In fact, by the time his contract is done, he will still be 28. which is still even in his prime. So these are the things we are trying to tell you and explain to you. And I met where Fernando Torres scored his own goal. If we remember, the heavens had to fall, the rains have to come and wash away all his sins for the ball to go into the back of the net. And I'm telling you that once Nicolas Jackson goes past this phase, initial phase of the metaphysical forces and the spiritual elements that accompany you from Africa, obviously, to the European journey, he'll be good. He'll make good on what Chelsea actually brought him to do.
All right, let me bring you guys into the conversation. Fernando Torres and Nicolas Jackson. I mean, Jackson have quite a lot of time to spend at Chelsea, but do you think he's going to do better than whatever legacy it is that Fernando Torres left at Chelsea, or you think it's going to go down the same way as Torres went at Chelsea? This has been Crossfire, brought to you by Bet Bonanza. High odds, fast payout.